Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Theta Healing Power Hour. I am Brenda B. Bailey, and I always say we do this every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I have people in the know, influencers, experts. So it's always a good hour. And then at the end, we do a little bit of theta healing work over what's kind of come up in the conversation and challenges possibly that you will have that Betsy will be talking about. So that's what it always looks like. And I am going to introduce my featured guest, who is Miss Betsy Clark, and she is the mindset chaplain. Betsy has been a successful entrepreneur for over 40 years. She breathes life into women's businesses and helps them leverage and monetize their unique brilliance. Her mission is to help women let go of the imposter syndrome or perfectionism so that they can have the intentional and purposeful growth that maximizes their strengths. She is the coach she needed 42 years ago. She focuses in on what women need to quiet their mind chatter so that they can hear the whispers of their heart and live life more fully. Her current business as a mindset chaplain parallels her work in interior design. It just expresses itself differently. Her passion is to support women to find their voice, stop doubting themselves so that they can flourish in their life and business. She encourages, empowers, and equips women to step into their potential and stand up on the inside. She calls this power with grace. Now, Betsy has lived in Colorado Springs because she's a little colder than where I am for 29 years with her husband and dogs. She and Archie travel frequently in their truck camper to play with their grown children and soak up the beauty of Colorado and the Wild West. And it's also one of the safest ways to travel right now. We'll just say that as well. So, welcome, Betsy.
Hey, how are you this morning or this afternoon where you are?
Absolutely. We're doing great, right? It's doing great. It's a beautiful day here. That's what I will say to that. And so it's like really lovely to be outside and to look outside. So that's nice. How about you? What's the weather like where you are, Betsy? How's Colorado
Well,
Springs?
well, it's fun because I'm in my sunroom, so you'll see the reflection. I've got the door open, the sun is out. There's a huge storm coming in this afternoon, so I got the door open. It feels like spring, and it's a little on the windy side, so I'm kind of wild. So it's a good day.
I know it sounds like good weather days.
Yes,
So,
need
which you
those.
can't beat that. So with the sun shining, can't beat that. So, Betsy, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in and ask you some questions. Okay.
Okay, fire away.
So, tell us, what is a business chaplain?
Well, you know what's really fun, Brenda, is I have been involved in mindset since I had my first business at 23. And I'm a woman who has a lot of faith. And I'm a chaplain because I marry the head to the heart. And I want women to come from their heart and to use their head. Take your head with you because it's kind of ugly if you don't. So, um, how do we integrate the head and the heart? A lot of women have really good intuition, but if we can't verify it, from the left brain, we kind of go, oh, I don't know. Should I follow that? Is that a good way to be? And I feel like being integrated is the best way for us to show up. So much of life is about duality. It's about light and dark and hot and warm. And you got all this duality. And then we go, oh no, I'm in business. I got to stay in my head. Well, you know what I think? I think it's different now. And I think that as we integrate those two things, it is a 1-2 punch and we feel more fulfilled. And isn't that the point? Isn't that why we show up to make an impact?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, guys, if you're liking what you're hearing, and we're getting off to a really juicy, great start, right? Like, comment, please share. And just know that, as I say, a lot more people catch this on the replay, but if you're catching us live, but always the information, the work that we'll be doing at the end is just as good with the live as it is for the replay. So, but please tag somebody like, oh, I know somebody who needed to have heard what Betsy just said, because that was good. And I think that that's, Betsy, that's the big thing as well, is that, and I'm not saying, I'm saying that probably we're looking at it, but I think as women, and I've been an entrepreneur for not quite as long as Betsy, but getting there. It's just that what's been out there, especially like when we first started, was this very masculine way to be in business. So I think we want men to also do this as well. But as women, it's like you have to understand what that looks like to run your business from who you are as a woman. And that's what I feel like when you're talking, Betsy, about, being connecting the heart with the head, because it's why people typically start a business, because they're, it's something that they feel, it's something that it's in their heart to do. But then they get, they kind of get disconnected because it's like, this is what my head tells me to do. So I absolutely understand what you're saying. And I think it's so valuable for people to hear it, for sure.
So you said something in the introduction, which I want to go back and revisit. So I've been an entrepreneur for over 42 years. And so for those of you that are doing the math, I got my first business at 23. I'm 65. I own it. But what's so interesting is when I started, when I was 23 years old, most women weren't encouraged to get MBAs. It was not typical. And so there was no internet. Well, when I say that in public, all the air gets gasped out of the room. It's like, what do you mean there was no internet? So there was no Coach Google. So I couldn't go on the internet and find out the things that I needed. And the books that were out there were written by men for men. And so I'm thinking, what? How am I supposed to do this? Where's my support? Where's my mentor? Where's my coach? And so I'm the coach I needed 42 years ago. And it was about establishing the essential interpersonal skills. We talk so much about our skill set and our competencies. That's the head. But what about the stuff that makes us so attractive to everybody else? And I'm not really talking about the law of attraction. I'm just saying what's pleasing, what's winsome, what's alluring, what draws our ideal client to us. Because I'm 65. I don't have a whole lot of time to be working with women that aren't a good match. And out of integrity, I don't think that's good business.
Right.
To work with people where it's not a good fit. Here's the deal. We're not in competition. We're in collaboration. And so if someone isn't a good fit to work with me, guess who I'm going to call? I'm going to call you and say, hey, Brenda, I've got someone. Here's the ticket. This woman really would be a great person for you to work with, not for, but with. This is about collaboration. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I am the same way, Betsy. I agree. I have my link chat with, is it? Yeah, chat with Brenda B. I don't know. I'll have it out. I have it down there. But anyways, so if I'm thinking of it off the cuff when I'm typing it, it's no problem. So I always say, again, not every coach is for you. You want to vet that person. Not every healer is for you. You want to vet that person. If I'm not the person for you, I've got a pretty good network and I'll make some recommendations if you want them. If you don't, that's okay as well. But I think that that's so important, is that it's to enter into a relationship of who you work with, who supports you, who helps you figure things out, who do you have some accountability with, that type of thing. It's understanding and meeting with people and talking to them and knowing, like, again, trusting our heart, trusting our intuition. Does this person feel right to me?
Well, and I don't
For
know.
me,
I'm
right?
I'm going to guess that there have been times when we've said yes when our gut said no.
Right.
And we've come to rue that decision, regret that decision, and go, oh, what was I thinking? And so helping women own that they've got this internal GPS that their yes can be yes and their no can be no. I can do this, but I can't do that. And so one of the things that I think you and I bring to the table is we help women get clarity on who they be, you know, not shoulding all over themselves. Oh, I should do this. And, you know, I should do that. Because when I hear should, I now know, I'm smart enough to know that maybe it's not for me.
Right.
So I'd
Absolutely.
love to hear people's responses to that statement in the chat, because that right there is the $1 million piece. When you say should, pay attention and really discern, is that for me or is it not? Is that ego or is that gut?
Absolutely. And I feel like, you know, there are many roads to get where we want to go, right? It just, you know, Betsy has her road, I have my road. Where do you, you know, what road feels right for you? And again, there's other people as well, but it's just me and Betsy right now. So we're just talking about me and Betsy.
That would be us.
So, you know, that's the thing is that um, there are certain things, you know, as far as marketing, and right now through the pandemic, it's all changing.
Right.
So we have to, you know, you want to be around somebody who's knows what's going on out there type thing and what's working and what's not. That's nice. But initially, these are things that are thought about in our head. So if we're not getting in touch with who we are and our intuition, all of that book learning, all of that learning on courses that you've taken about how to roll out your programs and that type of thing, or connect with people, they usually fall flat because it's all from the head, just like what Betsy said. You want to be able, and that's exactly right. Our heart is our magnet,
Yeah.
and it draws those people in. So it's good stuff, good stuff. So why have you spent your career teaching mindset? Like,
Why?
why does mindset matter?
It's everything. Mindset is everything. You know, our understanding of ourselves and how we think impacts every aspect of life. It's you got to do the work. You got to understand who you are. Here's the, it's kind of a joke, but it's really true. You don't need to be fixed.
Agreed.
You don't need to be fixed. The only thing that needs to be fixed are stray cats and dogs. So
And
what?
broken bikes or something like that, right? It's like
Oh, okay. A broken chain definitely needs to be. I mean, like, you want to see me have an attitude? It's when my chain comes off the sprocket. You know, I mean, like, I don't like that. So yeah, broken chains, that makes a difference too. You don't need to be fixed. What if you reframed how you talk to yourself, and you talk to yourself the way you talk to your friends? That, my friends, is self-compassion. Because if we talk to our friends the way we talk to ourselves, we wouldn't have a lot of friends, would we?
right.
So here's something that I'm really hepped up about. It's a grace card. So this is giving yourself permission to love, accept, and forgive yourself. So if you can't remember that, just remember the acronym LAUGH, because we need to laugh more. Be very clear that this is not an excuse card. This says grace. And so the thing that women talk to me about that they say is the hardest of all is like the forgiving part. So forgiveness is letting go of the past you wish you'd had. You don't have to be fixed. You don't have to go through life being so wickedly hard on yourself, give yourself some grace. Grace is unmerited favor. It's a pass when you need someone to give you a pass. Now, you don't stay in stuck, you don't stay in excuses, but every once in a while, a little kindness can go a long, long way. And I feel like in the pandemic, a lot of us are weary. It's taken a little bit more energy to do the things that we used to do. And you know what? I love the fact that I can be virtual and I can be global. It saves on travel, wear and tear in the bod, all that stuff. So some things have been easier and some things have been a little bit more exhausting because it's new. So give yourself some grace.
Love that card. I love that. Yeah, I know.
Okay. So here's the other one. What does power with grace look like? So the acronym I have for power is purposeful, open-handed, worthwhile, effective, resolve. So if you go backwards, is it purposeful resolve? Are you committed? Is it open-handed? Is it generous? Is it filled with grace? Is it about collaboration versus competition? Is it worthwhile? Does it have meaning? Does it matter to you? Because if it doesn't, don't do it.
Right.
Is it effective? We need to be asking this question because we can get so heart-centered and so heartfelt that we're not tracking and we don't know if we're effective, because just a teeny little tweak or a little nuanced move can take us from ineffective to effective. But when they always match with resolve, it's that commitment, that doggedness, that not stopping when things get tough. Because you know what? Life gets in the way. And Brenda and I, before we started this Facebook Live, we both were talking about, this morning kind of was a goat rodeo for both of us. And we showed up ready, engaged, because we have a resolve and a passion, and we are willing to have a powerful position with grace. So I call that women stepping into their power, standing up on the inside, and if they need to, being a velvet hammer.
Velvet hammer. I love that.
Velvet hammer.
So, when you're looking at all of these, and that's what's beautiful about Betsy, right? Is that it's knowing when to be in your head and when to be in your heart. And as human beings by design, right? It's like we do that all or nothing. So we're either all in our head or we're all in our heart. And it just takes understanding, this is what I want to utilize when, this is the balance, this is how it works in order to be able to move forward in that best way.
Yeah.
And be present.
Yeah. So I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach, and I work with clients from their top 5 strengths. And one of the things I love about this approach is it isn't a one and done. We are multifaceted individuals. And so to say I'm going to lead with just my top strength is really not all that wise. Because, you said we use different modalities, but we get to the same place. It's like you and me. Okay, Brenda, we need to go to Costco. We need to be there at 10 o'clock. We'll both get to Costco at 10 o'clock, but we're going to take a different path and a different route. And so when we have different strengths that we can leverage and access and amplify or modify to get the task done, i.e. getting to Costco, there's just a level of ease. There's a level of grace and dignity because you haven't lost yourself. You've just leveraged. It's like pulling a leverage. Oh, I'm going to pull strategic a little bit because I need to think outside the box. Oh, you know what? This woman's, her dog's not feeling good. I'm going to show some empathy. So I'm always moving the levers so that my best self comes to the table more often than not. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I have rough days? Oh, yes, I do. And I have tools and skill sets that I can leverage and use. And that's my joy, to teach women, how do I step into myself and not play a smaller game? Brene Brown says, don't be puffed up and don't shrink back, stand your sacred ground. And that's what I think you and I do, is help women stand their sacred ground.
Absolutely. I feel like that what happens a lot of times is that we get distracted either from our past, what's our, what we feel like possibly, the fear of the future. And when you can be present, when you can be in the moment, when you know what your why is, because that's what we're talking about, like what motivates you, and you know who you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what's, again, I always work on resolving the past, but on a day-to-day basis, that's what will happen as we move forward. So, Betsy, what do you feel like is the number one thing holding women back in business?
Oh, I love that question. It's comparison.
Oh, yes.
It's comparison. Teddy Roosevelt has this great quote. He says, comparison is the thief of joy. And we're always I mean, like, especially now, because we don't have the ability to go belly to belly with women, and to sit and, have coffee together or a drink or whatever it is, however you commune with one another, or have dinner. I mean, I haven't had anybody over for dinner in a year. So I got sidetracked. And we're talking about comparison. So we're looking at everybody on social media, and we're looking at everybody's highlight reels, and we're living out our behind the scenes. And there's a huge disparity between those two. And you can get wrapped around the axle comparing yourself. Well, I'm not as far along as Brenda is in her business. Ugh, what's wrong with me? And that's a fixed mentality. There's nothing wrong with you. I mean, how many times do we have to say this? What if you could come at today with, you know what, I'm good. I'm doing the best I can. And if I'm going to compare myself with anybody, I'm going to compare myself with who I was yesterday or who I was a year ago. That's why tracking your business and journaling is huge, because you have a reference point. And in those days when you're lower than a snake's belly button, you know what? I got this journal, and this journal has all sorts of juicy stuff in it. It's the stuff, the meaning of life is in this book. See, it says thoughts. I got a lot of them. And I journal every single day. Well, okay, so do you want an exercise? You want me to give you an exercise about comparison? A way to
Fun, isn't she? Give us, tell us.
come on, this one's rich. This one's juicy.
So again, guys, if you like this, like, comment, share this, tag somebody, because this is really great information and a co-live. So come on now.
Come
So
on, participate. So if you want more joy, and I'm doing a workshop on spark joy, how to have more hope and play in your life. So this is one of the things that can give you a heightened awareness of the meaning of your life. Okay. So every night before I go to bed, I have a routine to just sort of prepare me for going to sleep. And one of the things is, what's the most meaningful thing that's happened today? It doesn't have to be big. We need to not be so epic minded. Do you know that life happens in the common hour?
absolutely. I love that.
Life happens in the common hour. So it's a series of common things that build up, compounded over time, make life juicy and rich. So by writing down that meaningful moment, here's what happens. The neural pathways just get an extra dose. It's like, now I'm really going to date myself here, but we used to have records. And so you'd put the needle on the record and go, and then the music would start, but you'd get a skip in the record and the needle couldn't stay in the groove. Or if you played it too much, the groove got too deep. And so what we want to do is we want to create neural pathways that get deeper and deeper and deeper, but they're good neural pathways, not just the, oh, what's wrong with me? Oh, you're just like your mother. Oh, you'll never amount to anything. We nurse and rehearse and we make those neural pathways really deep. And I'm here to challenge you. Let's start creating neural pathways that are what's right with you. Let's lead with a positive intent. Let's take those meaningful moments and experience them. Okay, you're at the supermarket with your mask on, and you didn't get a cart, and your arms are just full, and you're like, I should have gotten a cart. And someone comes up and taps you on the shoulder and says, you know what, go to lane number 2. I'm going to open that up just for you. I'm on my break, but man, you're going to drop some stuff. I'm going to do that lane just for you. And they don't even flick the light on. They just take you. And maybe that's the most meaningful. You were seen, you were heard, you were noticed, acknowledged, and you were helped. Maybe that's the moment. So you experience it in the supermarket, but then you take your nice little journal and you write for 2 to 5 minutes. What was that like? What were you buying? How were you feeling when you walked in? How were you feeling when you came out? And so you're taking that neural pathway and you're making it a little bit deeper. And then the thing that's so beautiful about this is on those days when you're lower than a snake's belly button, like we talked about, you can go through and say, my life has meaning. I know how to connect with myself and with others. My life has purpose and meaning. And you can zhuzh this up, you can make it juicier, and you can make it richer. But it has to begin with you, and it has to begin with your mind. And that is a very long answer to why I think your mindset matters.
Well, and the thing is, Betsy, is that we have to train our mind.
Yes, we
So
do.
when you do the little things like what Betsy's talking about, and not little, but when you take those few minutes and you write down, like, what was that moment like for me when that woman just went out of her way and opened up, again, something very simple, opened up the register line for me. When you step back into it, that feeling, it's almost like a drug for your brain, right? Because your brain's
Right.
like, I like that. I want that again, and it stays in that place so that it can just be, while nothing else is happening, it can just be there. And that's the beautiful thing. And I feel like that's why, when you see like certain routines that people recommend, 21 days of gratitude and starting off your day like that, again, it's because it sets your brain in to be in that grateful, positive place, which is such a beautiful place to move forward in for the rest of the day. Or when you take that moment, like what Betsy's talking about, and do it during the day.
Yeah.
Right. It continues it. And when you have that, because again, we think about it, but we feel it. So it's also in our heart, it becomes a magnet. And then more things happen like that, or we're more like that, or we're in that frame of mind for it. And that's really, what she's talking about, exercises. I do, healing work, and it's to go ahead and clear that out so that that's the way it can be.
What I love is, we're both touching on the fact that it's, how does it feel? What does it look like? What does it smell like? Sometimes it's taste. It's a sensate exercise. Because here's the thing is, I want to put the emphasis on the right syllable. Because when we go to bed, sometimes the last thing we think about, and don't raise your hand and don't, yes, actually, you can admit it if you want to, because there's no shame, but you're going, I didn't get enough done today. There was so much I needed to get done and I just didn't get it done. So we go to bed from a place of scarcity. There's not enough time in the day. Then you wake up and you go, oh, I only slept for 6 hours. I didn't get enough sleep. So we're bookending our evening from a place of lack. I didn't get enough done. I'm not enough. And then you wake up and it's like, I didn't get enough sleep. So if that's what you're focusing on and your subconscious is chewing on it the whole night, I'm not enough. Not enough. There's still more to do. But when we come from a place of a meaningful moment, we come from a place of sufficiency, of meaning, of value, of worth.
I love that. So what are like 3 tips you're talking about? I'm thinking that some of these are already those 3 tips to overcome.
Comparison?
Yes.
Okay. This one's radical. But this one is, you know what? Turn your phone off on the weekend. That's radical. Don't binge on social media. Give yourself 48 hours to detox. We talk about detox tea. I'm going to do this I'm going to do a fast. I'm going to do a detox. I'm going to do all that stuff. But what about detoxing your heart? That's a big deal. The other one is, what if you give yourself a grace card? And if people are interested in grace cards, they can, I don't know how you want to do it. They can text me and give me their snail mail address, and I'll mail some of these at no charge to them, because I'm on a mission to get grace out there, because I think it really, really matters.
Absolutely.
And the other piece is, know yourself. To thine own self be true. I think William Shakespeare was on it. Because when you come from a place of knowing who you are, and that takes personal development, it takes working with someone like Brenda, it takes working with someone like me, or see a therapist, see a coach, whoever can fill that gap for you and guide you. But at the end of the day, you've got to do your own work. And owning that, and not getting into the excuses and the guilt and those things that keep pressing you down and keep you stuck, stagnating.
I think that, one of the exercises that I give my students, because I teach the Theta healing technique, is, and this has nothing to do with Theta healing, but it's like, listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then cancel it and send it to God's light, or send it to whoever you believe to be your divine power, and just cancel it. And I think that really makes people aware of what there's, and I say the same thing with thoughts. If it's something that you don't want, if you're thinking or saying something that you don't want, cancel it, send it to God's light, restate it.
Yeah.
And again, puts you in that habit of saying what you do want, of being positive, of, not having that negative energy around you. Because it was funny, because I'm going to swing back around to something that Betsy had said earlier. When somebody says to me, well, can you fix that? I'll be like, you're not broken.
Yeah.
You're not broken. You have to be broken to be fixed. And we're not like a bike or a car or a human being that just needs some tweaks, just needs some adjustments, just need to do something just a little bit differently. And I feel like that when people understand that piece of one, stop comparing yourself.
Yep.
Again, when you find yourself comparing yourself to somebody, cancel it and send it to God's light.
Yeah.
And then put something in that to begin with, that you would want it to be.
So it's interesting. There's a word that a lot of us use without understanding the power of how it diminishes us. And that word is just. I just want this, or I just that. And it so minimizes, well, there's a little friend. Spring is happening.
It's a sign. Anyways, it's
Yeah,
a good sign.
what is it? A little, I don't know what it is. It's a jacket or a hornet or something. I must be sweet. I'm attracting it like honey. But just, it minimizes, it diminishes. It's like we feel like we have to justify. It's just as if I'd negated everything I've just said. It's like saying but all the time. Yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. You negate. So where are the words that are powerful, that move you forward? Because words matter. They really matter.
Here's my word, right? So and I find that sometimes with myself, I'll say, well, and then I'll say, well, no, I don't mean it like that. Right. So again, cancel, send it. Right. And so Betsy is sweet. Look at that little bee hanging out. Bees are such good friends. I love it.
Looks like a little bee.
It's try. So my word is try.
Oh, try just makes the hair on the back of my neck go up. And I don't have a lot of hair. That's a big thing.
And
Yeah,
I say that because it's not actually a word, if you're not aware of this, that the brain recognizes. Like the brain does not recognize. And I'm going to tell you that the universe and whoever your divine power is, it's a word that's just not recognized. And yet, and I use this example. So if you have a significant other, children, and you ask them to do something and they'll say, I'll try, what usually happens?
Nada.
Right.
Nothing.
Exactly. So it's that thing. I think that people use that word as like a disclaimer or to let themselves off the hook or however that is, but that's not what's going to draw or bring in what it is that you want. You got to say. I always say we're like Nike, either do it or not. There's no try, or like Yoda as well, right? So
Right.
however you want to look at it, it's like there is no try. You either do it or you don't. And
So
either say that. If you're not going to do it, just say it, right? If you are going to do it, say it, but commit to it. That's what try is. It's a non-commitment.
right. Right. So this is radical, and I might step on some toes, but it'll at least get you thinking.
Yay! Let's
Um, so I have two grown children, and they're both married, and they're all four of them have advanced degrees. They're very well educated. They're debt free. I mean, they're homeowners, they're tax paying adults. And I'm very, very proud of my children and their spouses, as you can tell. And one of the things that my husband and I at a very, very early age decided, we did not say, I'm going to raise my children. We raised adults. They just happen to be in the stage of children. Because what happens is when we're raising children, we're allowing them to not develop and take responsibility and ownership for their own lives. And I know that that sounds radical, but I didn't do a lot of baby talk with my kids. I wanted them to know how well respected they were. And there was a standard. And so I raised adults that happened to be 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I know that that probably sounds, well, isn't she all high and mighty? But it always helped me make the choice that served them well. I didn't let it be the easiest choice. What was going to serve them well? The end game was to have, adults that were independent and could make choices for themselves. That makes sense.
Absolutely. because what you're saying and how this is approached, because the people that we love the most, there is a tendency, or we have to be aware that we will enable them the most. And when, for our kids, we'll do anything, right? It's like we love our children. And I'm the same way. With nieces, nephews, godchildren, I'm the same way. I just think that kids are so important. But everything is, it's approaching it, will this decision make them a good adult? Will this, I absolutely agree with that. Will this decision allow them to be successful as an adult? Will this
Right.
decision, and it's not always the easiest one. That's the deal about parenting. It can take a lot of energy at times because it's not always making that choice that makes it easy. It's making the choice that makes them, it's like I absolutely agree. I always say that when I'm around somebody, or even say like somebody younger, and they do something either that's considerate or that is well mannered or that's intelligent, whatever that is, I look at them and say, oh, your mama raised you right.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's not, my mom always used to say this: I made you girls too independent. I made y'all
Mm,
too independent. She would say that like when we were teenagers, right? Because we had gotten our own wills, had our own minds, she was like, "What have I created here?" type thing. But then as we were older, she started to look around and kind of see like what her other friends, grown kids were doing. And she'd be like, well, I guess that was okay because I don't worry about you girls, and you girls are fine, and you girls are resourceful and problem solvers. And, because she wasn't there always to figure out everything. She gave us those skills to be able to figure it out for ourselves.
so I think what you've said is really, really important and bears, we need to stop and land here for a second. Um, what happens is when we coddle our children, this wasn't going to be a parenting thing, but I think it ties into mindset. When we coddle our children, we don't give them the opportunity to make decisions for themselves, we dismiss them and we disrespect them. And what happens is they go all the way through, till like they're 17, 18, 19, 20, and they really haven't exercised their decision-making muscles. And then they're thrown out into a place where they're living on their own. They're either got a job, or they're going to school, or they're going to school and they have a job, or they're going to trade school, whatever. And all of a sudden, the newness can be so overwhelming that they don't even know how to make good decisions that serve them well, because someone's already made their decisions for them. And the big joke was, I want my kids to make as many bad decisions as they can while they live under my roof, so that they know the difference between a good decision and a bad decision.
Absolutely. And, I think it's also seeing, I'll tell you one of my favorite pastimes. I love reality TV, little known fact about Brenda, but it's the competitions. And my favorite competitions are the kids, like the kids baking, or the
Oh yeah.
kids, and the reason is because I love, like, when like somebody is coming up against something that they feel like that they've messed up, or they have to start over, and they usually start to cry, or it's like at the end, and all the kids will rally around them.
Yeah.
All the kids will be, or somebody else be like, I'm done. How can I help?" And they're in a competition, right? And it just makes me so happy. It makes me so, because they're all about it. And then one that I was just watching recently, the parents, because it was during the quarantine, the parents were there and they filmed them, and they saw them like when the kids, you know, lost and they got out of the competition. It was like I got to see how each parent, what was the thing that they said to them
Yeah.
after that moment. Didn't always agree with everything that was said, but I loved the ones where it was like, but you did your best, right? You
Yeah.
had fun, right? You know, it's you just made a mistake. It's okay. And I was like, yes, because that was a learning moment. That was a teaching moment.
Yeah.
We're all going to make mistakes. And it was funny that Betsy was talking about that because I was just talking to a client recently that she was talking that a traumatic event for her was going off to school.
Mm. Yeah.
And I went, did you put yourself through school? And she was like, yeah, you know, that's why. And it was, you know, and I went, huh, because I went off to, you know, I left for school. I put myself through school. It wasn't a big deal. And I just thought, oh, isn't that? And of course, it's our belief systems and how we were raised. But also, too, I feel like then in coming back around, it's if maybe we didn't get those skills for whatever reason, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
So somebody can help you with that. You can help yourself. Things can shift. You can understand how to do it at any age. So it's not like, oh, you know, I'm in my 50s or I'm in my 60s or I'm in my 70s. I have a lot of clients that are in their 70s. It's like,
Very
it's
true.
never too late.
So here's the, to support what you're saying. It isn't we all have our stuff, right? Welcome to humanity. What matters is what's the impact. And that's where self-awareness, that's where being conscious, that's where having accountability partners, people who will come in and support you in the midst so that you can lean on them when you're feeling wobbly. Because we're not always completely grounded and strong and all of that sort of stuff. Wouldn't it be great? But we need each other. We were never designed to do this alone. We are hardwired for connection. And we need each other. And so finding those people who are safe for you to be vulnerable with, I mean, we've all been betrayed. We've all been burned. We've all been wounded by other people. And you know what? There's no shame in that either. We get to choose, will I let this form me and inform me? Or am I going to have this, you know, cause me to be stagnant and stop dead in my tracks? We always have a choice. We always have a choice. And that's the power of humanity.
Absolutely. And I also feel too that what ends up happening again, you know, as Betsy said, welcome to being in human form here in this, you know,
Yeah.
reality, is that people make a mistake and then they have no grace with themselves,
Right.
right? So then it makes us wobbly. We become a series of reactions that are
Yes.
typically a series of poor choices. And so that one ended up snowballing into more, and it just becomes more and more reasons that we are unforgiving of ourselves and we don't trust our heart because we're not having a good track record, right? So if this person, you know, I always say if this person was doing, if you had somebody that was doing to you what you're doing to yourself,
Yeah.
would you keep them around? No. Would you want them around? No. And that's where, and I always say that if you want to know what you need to work on, start a business. There are many ways to start a business, right? So if you
Yeah.
think that there's a separation from that or what we're talking about and being more insightful or knowing who you are, I promise you, if there's any little cracks or any little pieces missing, they show up. There you go. Here it is.
Oh, amen to that one. Wow, isn't that the truth?
So these are the things that when you, And you can have friends, I always say, but go for that level. Not that you don't, not, I'm not telling you to like not keep your friends, but if you think about it, you want people who can raise you, who can have that information that you need, can give you that support from the experience that they have. So we can only meet people where we've been.
Right.
And that's why you vet people, whether it be a coach, a healer, a strategist, whoever that is,
Right.
and be in that solid place to make that decision. So I always say that if you have fear just to make the decision, that's something that needs to be looked at. If you have fear because you want to say yes, then say yes. Because then you're just feeling uncomfortable. It's something that you don't know. And it just gives us that experience to be able to know that and to be able to have that discernment and distinguish between it. And having somebody objectively support you in that is a beautiful place so that we know. So I do have one final question. I'm not sure whether or not we've answered it yet or not. Going forward in 2021, what is the one thing that a woman can implement today?
I think it's this grace, and you talked about it, forgiving ourselves, letting go of the past you wish you'd had. I have made so many mistakes, but the truth is, I I let it go. It's like, okay, I can either have this devastate me, or I can let this inform me going forward. It makes me more relatable. It makes me more transparent. It makes me wiser. Because if we're always denying what's happened and not really wanting to talk about it, that's field work. That's data that can move you going forward. And who knows, that might be the very thing that someone else needs to know. And who better than you who's gone through it? So I think that grace and letting go of the past you wish you'd had. There's so many things in my past that I wish hadn't happened, but they make me who I am. Your things make you who you are. You bring something so unique to the table. And it's every experience that you've had up until this point. So I think it's that whole thing about forgiving yourself, showing grace. What is it to step into your power and not be a power bully, but to step into your power with grace and to have that open-handed resolve, that purposeful resolve, that worthwhile resolve, that effective resolve that you will not quit. You will not quit. Because your solution and what you offer is so necessary. Brenda and I aren't going to relate to all of you out there. I know that's shocking, but someone else is going to come in and fill the gap where Brenda and I can't fill it. We need each other. We need to be respectful. When we judge, we stop growing. Think about it.
I was going to say, oh, we're going to pause for just a moment on that one.
Yeah.
And also too, when you judge, because it's that deal, we're like Betsy said, we're going to make mistakes, but if you learn from it, what a gift.
Yeah.
So how are you going to view it? Is it going to be something that you fear or something that hold over your head, that you run in your mind and you make it something negative? Or is it like something that you learn from so that you don't repeat it?
Yeah.
That you can do it better, that you can actually do the exact same thing and do it better because you took that moment to get what you learned from it. It's, a lot of people will look at things and go, oh, well, that doesn't work. Well, but if it works for a lot of people, not saying that, but then maybe was it the timing? Was it where you were at? Was it, how it was executed? There are so many things to look at. And those are the things that allow people to not have to do that all the time, right? So not have to make mistakes all the time or feel like we're making the same mistake.
There's a word for that.
I'm listening.
It's called growth.
Yes. So this has been an amazing conversation, and it's been beautiful. And this is the thing that I'll point out. There have been a lot of things going on in the world and in everybody's individual lives. And it's just beautiful that people can show up, comment, like, and share and tag people, right? So, and also for Betsy and I, like showing up in this moment and being present and sharing information and experience from the heart.
Yeah.
So we're going to do just a little bit of theta healing work, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Because we've gone, and I don't want to take us too much over, keeping us in that hour. So let's go ahead. I always say, if this is your first time, right? Because maybe Betsy's got some peeps who are in on her, want to hear again her genius and want to know it. There are always 3 beliefs that I always have people do if they're a new client or student. So just to understand the process, theta healing bypasses the conscious and subconscious mind, and it's a quantum energetic technique that makes changes at a cellular level. So it makes it easier for the mind and heart to follow instead of it being the opposite of what most people tell us to do. So we do that, and it's as if it's always been. It's not as painful, it's quick, it's easier. We can turn around better, we can bounce back better. And again, not attract or repeat those same mistakes. So the 3 basic beliefs that I always make sure that somebody has in place is, I want an instant healing, I deserve an instant healing, and an instant healing is possible. Because what I do works very quickly. It's permanent. We do it on 4 levels, which is what we've inherited, what we've brought into this life, what we carry around in our soul, and just what's occurred in this lifetime. So it gets to be very complete in what we do, and although it sounds pretty simple. So if you would like those 3 basic beliefs, it's a very respectful technique. So you also have to say yes out loud, because 1, our brain needs to hear that.
Yeah. Yes.
Needs to hear that.
Yes.
Your divine power needs to hear that. So
yes.
all of it goes, oh, okay, this is what Betsy wants, or this is what Brenda wants.
Yes.
So if you would like those 3, just say yes out loud. And I've got a great prompter here with me.
Yes. Yes.
And then I just thought it would be nice to do some definitions. And I talk about divine definitions because, so say my definition of letting go is that I don't get my way. It's very painful. I'm being taken advantage of. Then more than likely, I'm never going to let go, because that does not sound good. But if that divine definition of letting go is knowing that my highest and best good is being met and it allows me to go with the flow, then when it's appropriate, I will let go. So I find that divine definitions are really helpful. And we said so many great examples and words today that I just thought, so we have self-compassion, love, acceptance, grace, forgiveness, comparison, right? So again, some of these we get so that we don't do them. So we want that divine definition, like, I'm not going to do that. And acknowledged, seen, heard. So if you would like those, and what that means is you're going to be in alignment with that divine definition, know what it feels like, so it cuts down the learning curve on it, that it's possible, that it's safe, and how it serves you. Because I have some people be like, with forgiveness, like, no, I'm good. I don't want to forgive. And I'd be like, well, forgiveness isn't for that other person, because I promise you, they haven't thought twice about it. They've gone on with their lives.
Right.
they're still alive, right? Type thing. It's for you. So that's why we want these definitions. So if you would like those, just say yes out loud.
Yes.
And then let's just change. Obligations mean we don't have a choice. So let's change that obligation that we talk negatively to ourselves. And let's change that obligation to compare ourselves to others. And let's change what prevents us from taking the time to have the meaningful moment. So if you would like those, just say yes out loud.
Yes.
So Betsy, and I've already put this in the comments. She doesn't have a workshop. She has a play shop.
Yeah.
What's that, Betsy? Tell them about that because we've got the link in the comments for you.
Thank you. I don't know about you, but a workshop on a weekend sounds exhausting. So, what is the opposite of play, Brenda?
Well, the opposite of play is work.
Okay, according to Stuart Brown, the opposite of play is depression.
Oh,
So, what we want to do is we want to have 3 hours where we can play and re engage and spark joy and hope. Hope is saying that you know what, things are going to turn out for the best. And so we're really going to focus on what brings us joy. We're going to understand, and we are going to play. I've got some really fun, playful things to do in that 3 hours. And not only joy, but hope and play. And what John Gordon said, what do fear and hope have in common? They both believe in a future that hasn't happened yet. And I want to install things for you where you believe that things are going to turn out for the best. You know what? I don't like the best is yet to come, because then it diminishes where we are right now. But it's being really joyful right now and knowing that in the latter days, it's still going to be good and juicy and rich and abundant. So that's what we're offering.
and it is
February 13th.
yes.
10 o'clock to 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So, whatever time zone you're in, it's free, it's virtual, and I guarantee you will be laughing because some of the exercises we have are just foolishly fun.
So again, the link is in the comments below. Please share, like, tag somebody who you feels like, oh, they needed to have heard this.
Yeah.
And always know that I again, once again, always proved right. I have the best guests, experts, influencers that know, that share great information and are lovely and have great offers. So you're welcome. But so next week, I have to say you're welcome. So next week, same time, same place, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, the Theta Power Hour will be featuring Grace Richardson, and we'll be doing like the changes needed to reverse and rejuvenate aging. Doesn't that sound cool? So please join us again. And again, you can always catch it on the replay. As with on a replay, you always get all the work and all the information. So share it with somebody who you feel like needed to hear it. Betsy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a delight.
Yeah, it really has.
Too far over, so we're doing good. We covered some good information though.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us, and thanks
All
for
right.